A number of people have said that they didn't realize that they were that close to the line. If you have to ask yourself if you're that close to a line, chances are you are too close.
When it comes to working around overhead lines, it's best to assume not only that the lines are live, but that they are also high voltage.
There is a minimum safe distance of 10 feet which should be maintained when working near energized power facilities. The minimum safe distance will increase, however, as the voltage increases. Safe distances can also be affected by weather conditions and other factors. If you know that the lines are carrying lower voltages, say 50,000 volts, the minimum safe distance is 10 feet. And even then, be sure that neither you nor your equipment or vehicle lifts breach that barrier. Unfortunately, people who are operating lift trucks, cherry pickers, or cranes don't always have a clean line of sight overhead, leaving anyone working in the bucket and the operators themselves in a vulnerable position. To be absolutely sure that you don't cross into the danger zone, it's critical that you designate someone to stand within the line of sight of the bucket or crane operator to spot you as you move equipment into position wherever overhead lines are present. And if your work requires that you continue hoisting, booming, or traveling within that area, keep your spotter in position until you are stationary. That individual is your greatest safety device. Do not rely on proximity warning devices, hook insulators, insulating boom guards or cages, swing limit stops, ground rods, or any protective devices because every one of them has limits and any one of them can fail. And if by some terrible chance you're in a vehicle that makes contact with an overhead line and you survive, it's important to know that the metal cab is an electrical conductor, so anyone close to or touching the cab becomes the path of least resistance to ground. That means people outside of a vehicle can be severely injured or even killed if they're touching the vehicle when it makes contact. And you can be injured or killed trying to exit if your vehicle remains in contact.
In fact, even people in close proximity can be injured or killed depending on whether the soil they're standing on is conductive enough. Also, keep in mind that sometimes even the 10-foot rule is not enough. The greater the span of the electrical lines from one pole to another, the more likely they are to swing in high winds.
What was originally a 10-foot safety barrier could become significantly less if the wind is causing lines to swing. So, take wind and weather conditions into account whenever you're working near overhead lines and increase the safe working distance as needed to maintain at least the specified 10-foot distance at all times.
With our job, we have people who help us and watch us from the ground, a spotter, as you say. Their job is to make sure that we don't do something wrong. You can't obviously see everything, and you have everything covered up when you're working, but still, there's a chance that something could happen, and the spotter is there to just help you along, oversee what you're doing, and make sure that you're doing it safely.